What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, man. I'm so excited to be back with y'all, man. Another 2 minute drill episode coming at y'all Wednesday, June 23rd, hump day, baby, man. We're approaching the end of the week, man. Hoping y'all all having a good week out there. Man, I just want to say I appreciate just the endless support that we've been getting recently. All the comments, all the interaction. I mean, it's been outstanding. I mean, I challenged on when we hit 300. I was like, man, we can't do another giveaway till 500. I got to see how loyal everyone is, how big we can grow. Almost to 350 in like less than a week, man. Shout out to y'all. I can't believe how much hype this show's gotten. And I can't give any more credit to y'all, man. We can't wait to make all the announcements and everything that we're going to be doing this fall for the 2021 season. Listen, as we going into season 3, I don't think y'all are ready for what's going to happen. The Blue Bloods taking it up to the next level, man. Can't wait. B-Dub will be back with me tomorrow, but we're going to have to finish up the segment that we started yesterday as we're kind of previewing the ACC. We're doing, Vegas just released all the predicted wins for the over-unders for all the teams in the country. So we wanted to go through and just, as after spring practices, as we get into summer workouts, kind of like what our initial feelings are for all these teams and how they're going to perform this year. Like, are they going to get over these predicted wins, or are they going to fall short, go under, and we even have some pushes where they hit it right on the dot, and I would probably stay away from that bet. But let's get right into it, man. I'm excited. We move on to the ACC Coastal, and we got Duke here. And if you're interested in the Atlantic, my bad. If you're interested in the Atlantic, it's on yesterday's 2 minute drill episode. You guys can go check it out right here on YouTube. Probably be linked up in the top right. There's a little eye looking button. Hit that. It'll be in that list of videos. Let's get into Duke. 4 projected wins for the Blue Devils. And man, guys, I hate being a bearer of bad news. I really think that this team could be one that's in for a pretty rude awakening in 2020. Only returned 5 offensive starters, 5 defensive starters from last year's team that, let's be honest, struggled pretty badly. Offensively, I'm looking at Gunnar Holmberg at quarterback. He wasn't super impressive last year as a backup for Chase Bryce, who is now off to Appalachian State, I believe. He had 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his limited time. I'm not sure he's the answer, and he's probably one of the weak quarterbacks they've had in recent history after getting Chase Bryce from Clemson and also having Daniel Jones, who's now off at the NFL playing for the Giants. This offense really struggled all year, and I don't really see a name on the roster, that really can make a huge impact. Mateo Durant probably is the best player on offense to running back. I just don't know how far his legs can really carry the Blue Devils this year. When you go to the other side of the ball, though, defensively, the Blue Devils have question marks at a lot of positions, especially on the back end of the defense. The defensive line has a few question marks, but that linebacker unit has all their starters returning. Shaka Hayward, Rocky Shelton II, both should be significant contributors, probably leaders of the defense right there in the middle. They run that 4-2-5 type of scheme, so look for them to have big years. They're just going to have to kind of hold down the fort as the rest of these younger, more inexperienced players kind of come along as the season goes along. So when I look at their schedule, though, I do see 2 guaranteed wins, in my opinion, right now in Charlotte and Kansas. I think they overmatch both those programs. Kansas is going to take some time, even though they nailed the head coaching hire there. I just think those 2 games Duke can win. Those are the 2 games they're for sure the better team in. The swing games, though, I think are Pitt and Louisville. They're going to have to win both of these games, in my opinion, to hit this 4 projected win mark. And these are the swing games because I think Duke is maybe just like half a tier or a tier below both of these teams. But you look at the rest of their schedule, man, they had a horrible draw. Northwestern, they were the runner-up in the Big Ten, almost knocked off Ohio State, been the representative in the Big Ten championship 2 out of the last 3 years. Northwestern's a better team. North Carolina, better team all around every position, I think. Georgia Tech, I think, is going to be a better team than Duke. I think Sims and Jameer Gibbs, we're going to get into Georgia Tech later, are going to be better. I think Georgia Tech beats Duke this year. Virginia is a loss. Wake Forest is a loss. Virginia Tech, Miami. I think all these teams kind of outmatch them. Pitt has some question marks, and Pitt can shoot themselves in the foot. I'll get into that a little bit later. So that's a swing game. Louisville has a lot of question marks, especially we covered them yesterday. Malik Cunningham turnovers. They have to replace a lot of good skill players, a lot on that defense. I think those are the two games that they could sneak up on and you really get. I think you could even move Georgia Tech into that swing game category. I'm just very high on them. Just spoiler alert. If I had to make a verdict, though, I think it's probably under for Duke this year. I think 3 wins is what I see. I think they'll get 1 win in Pitt, Louisville, Georgia Tech. They'll beat Charlotte and Kansas. The rest of them are probably losses. So a 3-9 year for Duke. I just think this is probably one of the weaker Duke teams that we've seen in recent years. And as good as that coaching staff could be, as talented as some of these players are, I just don't think they have that unit to kind of put it together in a very strong ACC this year. So as if you're a Duke fan watching, man, I'm sorry. Maybe you'll prove me wrong. I'm interested to kind of see as we get into our preview season. As I get deeper into this, maybe I'll give y'all 4 wins. We can push it, but right now, as I'm recording in June, I'm going to go under 3 wins for the Duke Blue Devils, 1 under their projected 4 wins. We also had a team that was in that 4 range, 4.5 wins for Georgia Tech projected. Jeff Collins has been building something special. He had a big rebuild. So, to change that triple option attack, get some players, Bryce Kuhn jumped on the podcast with us when we did this in our ACC in 28 days back in February. He said the offensive line was a huge issue for Georgia Tech. They did not have a Division I FBS caliber offensive lineman in terms of size. They're getting that in there now. And I think the Yellow Jackets could be 1 or 2 years away from really competing for this division. Offensively, I'm very excited for them. Jeff Sims, Jameer Gibbs are going to be 2 of the best young players in the ACC. I think they were 2 of the best rookies. Jameer Gibbs might be the best young player, best second-year player in the ACC right now. It should give the offense kind of like a revitalization that, like, this is the best running back they've had in a while, probably the best quarterback they've had in a while. The offensive line, I want to see them mesh well. Can they take all that on-paper talent and put it on the field? I want to see some wide receivers emerge as realistic targets because all the wide receivers, they're all pretty much new. Malachi Carter's really the only guy that has a lot of experience at that spot. He's going to have some help. I mean, Marquez Ezer is a kind of a young guy who I think could really break out this year for the Yellow Jackets. On the defensive side of the ball, they have some stars. Quez Jackson, Jamon Brooks, Jordan Dominic are going to have to step up in that front 7. They have a lot of great guys in that front 7, but they're young other than those 3 guys. They're going to have to hold down the fort, have to bring up their teammates. But the secondary is where I get really excited about the potential of Georgia Tech's defense. 4 out of 5 starters return. But the problem is like it was last year's season an anomaly. Was it due to not having spring practice? Was it due to not being able to get that chemistry up in the back end of the defense? They were 14th in the ACC last year in pass defense. If they can move that up, I mean, I'm not asking for them to be top 5. If they can move that up to 8th, 9th, Georgia Tech's going to win a lot more games than they're projected to win because they just need to be able to get those few stops in these close games, which they weren't able to get. You saw they were hanging in with UCF when they came into town last year. Just down the stretch, that secondary really collapsed, and they weren't able to keep up, per se, with what UCF was doing. Well, look at their schedule, though. Northern Illinois, Kennesaw State, and Duke are my 3 guaranteed wins. So they're going to have to get 2 more somewhere. I look at this schedule's brutal, by the way. So let me get to the losses before I get to the swing games. Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, Boston College, Notre Dame, and just to top it all off, Georgia. What a brutal draw. You get, what, four, probably the top four ACC teams, the best independent team in the country, and you might get the best team on paper in the country going into the season in Georgia after they just landed 2 5-stars within 35 minutes of each other. So those games are going to be hard. I don't really see them being ready to knock one of those teams off. Maybe Notre Dame, maybe Boston College, North Carolina if everything falls apart. But the swing games for me, they have 3 wins for me. They're going to need 2. They're going to have to win 2 out of these 3 swing games. Pitt, Virginia, and Virginia Tech are going to be the swing games. I think right now Virginia Tech is a little bit better. I'm leaning toward Virginia Tech right now in that game. Virginia, I can see them squeaking that one out. And Pitt, I can see them squeaking that one out. If I had to put money on it right now, I'm going over for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at 5 wins. I think they get Pitt. I think they get Virginia. Probably drop one to Virginia Tech. And a 5-7 record after what this program was when Jeff Collins stepped in is a huge step forward for the Yellow Jackets and this new offense they're trying to build, this new culture they're trying to build. And I think as long as they're patient with Jeff Collins, you're going to see that projected win total bump up for Georgia Tech over the years. But I think they beat it this year. 5 wins for Georgia Tech, hit that over. Let's get to, some of these middle range teams. Virginia, 6 projected wins this year. They're coming off a 500 season under Bronco Mendenhall. He's been also trying to rebuild this program. Just offensively, I don't know how I feel about it. I really like Perkins a few years back at quarterback. I'm just not a huge Brennan Armstrong fan. I don't think he is. I just don't think he's one of the top tier ACC quarterbacks. They do have a really solid running back in Wayne Talopapa. And Billy Kemp is a really good wide receiver. I like him, but outside of him, I don't really know if there's anybody really proven around him. And Armstrong just has a history of turning the ball over too much. If you turn the ball over in this league, you give some of the best teams extra possessions, and in these close games, your opponent gets more possessions, it gets better field position because of the turnovers, you're not going to be able to compete. And defensively, man, they were one of the worst units in the country, especially at pass defense, where they were last in the ACC, 123rd overall, guys. Joey Blunt, Nick Jackson are going to have to step up and be the leaders of the defense. Nick Grant and Darius Bratton are going to have to play better at the boundary corner spot, because if they can't stop the pass, there's too many good quarterbacks in this league, especially at UNC, especially at Clemson, Virginia Tech. I just don't see it happening. If this pass defense doesn't get significantly better, Virginia's not going to hit the 6-win mark. And if I had to project it right now, I don't think they hit it. William and Mary is a guaranteed win. Illinois is a win. Duke and BYU is a win. BYU, I just think, is going to be in the super rebuilding mode. Bronco Mendenhall, these players came from BYU. These players are going to be fired up. It's a revenge game. So that's 4 wins. They just got to get 2 more. And I got 4 swing games here. I just don't know if I can see 3 wins in here. Wake Forest, I think they drop, but it is a tight swing game. Louisville will be one that I'll be interested in. Right now, I'm probably 50-50 on that game. Georgia Tech, I'm leaning toward Georgia Tech in that one, but that's a swing game. And Pitt, I think that could go either way, but I would lean Pitt. So I'm leaning the opposite way in 3 of these. They probably get Louisville, and I have losses in North Carolina, Miami, Notre Dame, and Virginia Tech, who I think outclass Virginia right now. So I have them under at 5 wins. I would hit the under for Virginia. I think the 5-7 is kind of where I'm at right now. So 6 wins might just be one too many. So I think Virginia under 6 projected wins, I would give them 5 right now in the month of June. We have Pitt next. 7 projected wins for the Panthers. I mean, Pitt was a team I was very torn on last year. I think they had a lot of potential. It was just nothing really came together for them. Pat Narduzzi is probably under a little bit of pressure. The 11th consecutive season losing 5 or more games for Pitt last year. They had 7 wins last year, though. Offensively, I think there's some questions for Pitt. They had the number 13 offense in the ACC. In terms of offense, they were 111th in the rushing attack last year in the NCAA. When you rank outside the top 100 in anything, that's brutal. Kenny Pickett caught a turnover bug, but I don't blame him. I've said this on the podcast. He was the quarterback that was most affected by wide receivers dropping balls, and without this run game and without the O-line playing their best, he just had to force a lot of stuff, and he was rolling out of the pocket under pressure. Kenny Pickett has, I think, one of the hardest jobs in college football, managing the game, playing with some of the weaknesses that this team really has. And so I think for Kenny Pickett to thrive, which I think is the key for Pitt this year, they're going to have to get the O-line and running game together. They're going to have to replace some of those weapons for him. But I do like Addison at wide receiver. I think the kid's a baller, probably their best playmaker, but he's going to have a Robin out there with him where if he's covered up double team, there's someone else they can kind of go to. And defensively, I think there's a lot of questions on the front seven. Patrick Jones, Rashad Weaver, both off to the NFL draft. Deslin Alexander, Keyshawn Camp are two names to look out for in terms of replacing that mass exodus of D-line talent. Safety is another position. Paris Ford, a monster at the college level. He's also off to the NFL. Brandon Hill and Eric Hollett, the second, are both promising new starters for Pitt there. And, when I look at the schedule, I think I give them wins at UMass. I give them a win over Tennessee, who's rebuilding, Western Michigan, New Hampshire, Duke, and Syracuse. So that's 6 wins right there. And I think there's 3 swing games. So they just got to win 1 out of these 3. Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and Virginia. I think they can get Virginia. And right now, I would take Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech just slightly over Pitt. So I think they push. I told y'all it was coming. I think they got this around the dot. I think another 7-5 years, kind of what I'm seeing for Pitt. I think they lose to Clemson, Miami, North Carolina for sure. They're just outclassed in all those games at almost every position. So I'm going with 7 wins. I think they get that one. I think they get that one over Virginia probably, and Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech right now are losses. Virginia Tech just a tad bit better, and I think Georgia Tech kind of might be an upset, but I think that young talent is going to kind of carry them, especially with the front seven being a bit depleted for Pitt and after that exodus to the draft. So push for Pitt, 7 projected wins right on the dot. I think they get 7 this year. And so we mentioned this team a few times, Virginia Tech, and they also are projected 7 wins. They're coming off a tough 5-win season in 2020. They're going to have plenty of potential to compete with the best of the best in the ACC, but this season is going to depend a lot on Braxton Burmeister. He steps in for Hendon Hooker, who's now transferred over to the Vols of Tennessee. Can he replicate kind of the dynamic play that Hooker brought? Hooker was so explosive with his legs. I think Burmeister has a better arm than Hooker, but probably a little bit more accurate. But can he expand the offense? And when Hooker was out early last year, the offense just didn't flow very well for Virginia Tech with Burmeister compared to Hooker. So maybe they worked it out in spring ball. Maybe they're going to work it out over summer workouts and fall camp. I just don't know if he's going to be that guy for Virginia Tech. Jalen Holston, Rasheed Blackshear have to produce for what Khalil Herbert did last year. Now he's off to the NFL. Khalil Herbert was one of the breakout players of the year last year in the ACC. Really kept Virginia Tech in some games they shouldn't have been in just with his explosiveness. With that UNC game, just put on a show. So those 2 guys are going to have to make up for Khalil Herbert's departure. Defensively, 8 players return with starting experience for the Hokies. And the biggest issue for the secondary last year was injuries and COVID concerns. If they can stay healthy and stay on the field, the secondary is going to might be one of the best in the ACC. Now, the front 7 is inexperienced, and it's going to have to be a unit that comes together very fast. West Virginia, UNC being week 1 and week 3 is really, really tough. But if this defense clicks, it can kind of buy Burmeister and that young offense a little bit of time to develop. Virginia Tech could be really moving in motion. And so when I look at the wins, I give them Middle Tennessee State. I give them Richmond. I give them Pitt. I give them Syracuse, Duke, and Virginia. So that's 7 right there. I mean, just make sure Middle Tennessee State, Richmond, Pitt, Syracuse, Duke, Virginia. So that's 6. So we got 6 wins. They need one of their swing games. Swing game of West Virginia, swing game of Georgia Tech, and swing game of Boston College. I think they can win the West Virginia and Georgia Tech game. West Virginia lost a lot in that secondary. Tyke Smith gone. They also lost Drayshawn Miller to Auburn. So I don't know if that secondary is going to be as good. I got a lot of questions about West Virginia this year, to be honest. So I can give Virginia Tech that game. I also can give them the Georgia Tech game. I think they're just a tad bit better there. And Boston College is going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. That was probably 50-50, but I'm going to lean Boston College here. And I'm giving them losses to North Carolina, Miami, and Notre Dame. Notre Dame could be an extra win. If they can steal Notre Dame, they can be in business for a 9-win season. But I'm going to go with over still. I think they get 2 of those swing games. I got Virginia Tech at 8 wins at over their projected 7. Hit that over for Virginia Tech. Promising team. So now we go to the 2 favorites in this division. We start with the Miami Hurricanes, guys. Now, Manny Diaz has been doing his thing down in South Beach. He has the Hurricanes ready. They were a top 10 team all last year, really only struggled significantly against Clemson in Death Valley, which everyone struggled in Death Valley against Clemson last year, let's be honest, outside of Ohio State. And then Notre Dame, beat them without Trevor Lawrence. But offensively, this is where it gets interesting. The Canes return 11 players with starting experience, plus add a previous starter at Oklahoma in Charleston Rambo at wide receiver, which is a huge position of need because I feel like the wide receiving core was holding Miami back significantly last year. De'Aaron King, if he can live up to that Heisman potential that a lot of people thought he had at Houston, then the Hurricanes could easily win the ACC, easily compete with Clemson for the ACC. But it also, the biggest question mark for me is this offensive line. We have seen it play so inconsistent. We've seen it struggle in some of the bigger games, especially against Clemson. Can they come together? They get a whole nother year together. All 5 starters are back. Did they develop enough this offseason to be a top 3 offensive line? If they could be a top 5-3 offensive line, this Hurricanes team is going to be deadly. On the defensive side of the ball, they did lose some key pieces. Jalen Phillips, Quincy Roche, even Gregory Rousseau was off. But I think they could have the best D tackle, one of the best D tackles in the country, in Nessa J. Severa. He's a returning starter. DeAndre Johnson brings some experience off the edge at DN. The secondary position, they add Tyreek Stevenson from Georgia. Bubba Bolden's back. Avante Williams is one of the higher-rated recruits they've landed recently at that safety spot. All these guys bring very, very unique skill sets. They're spectacular athletes, and I think it could give Miami the most depth and the most versatile secondary they've had in years, where they can plug and play guys in different spots and put the 4 or 5 best guys on the field at once in that back end of the defense. Now, looking at their schedule, I only see one guaranteed loss. That's Alabama. I know. I know. I have to give them that loss to Alabama. They're not beating Alabama week 1. I give them a win at Appalachian State, Michigan State, Central Connecticut, Virginia, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Florida State, and Duke. That's 8 wins. So they got to get 2 of their swing games, which are North Carolina, NC State, and Virginia Tech. I think they can get 2. I do. I honestly do. I think they can. I think they're going to lose to North Carolina. They're going to beat NC State and squeak by Virginia Tech. I'm going with Miami projected 10-2 Only 2 losses to Alabama and North Carolina. 10-2 for the Canes. Hit that over. This team could be a sleeper if they get past North Carolina. They're gonna North Carolina and Miami are going to give Clemson fits in the ACC championship this year. I really do believe that. So I'm kind of spoiled the other team there, but let's get to North Carolina as we wrap this up. A projected 10 wins for the Tar Heels. They're looking to build on a 10-win season last year. They had a college football playoff shot late. The Seminoles pulled off the upset down in Tallahassee. But offensively, I think they're returning the best quarterback in college football in Sam Howell. That they need some help at wide receiver and running back. They need some people to step up, but they return all 5 starters on the offensive line. That's huge, but they have to play better. They got to show major improvement. The offensive line is why UNC was not a realistic playoff contender last year. It's why they couldn't finish the deal. It's why Florida State beat them. It's why they lost some games they shouldn't have down the stretch. The offensive line did not allow Sam Howell to play his best. It hurt the run game at times in clutch moments, and I think the O-line was the weakness for this offense last year. And I'm very excited to see how it developed over this offseason. Ty Chandler comes in at running back for Tennessee with a lot of experience. The wide receiver spot is the biggest question mark on this squad. But moving to the defensive side of the ball, the secondary is going to be the strength of the team. Tony Grimes, Storm Duck are back at cornerback. And then safety, Don Chapman, Trey Morrison are back. I love their back four guys in Chapman, Morrison, Duck, and Grimes. They're going to be one of the best secondaries in the ACC. Tamari Fox is going to be the X Factor D lineman. His brother, Toman Fox, is going to have to be the leader at linebacker. Now, when I look at what Matt Brown has on the schedule, I see Georgia State as a win, Virginia as a win, Georgia Tech's a win, Duke and Florida State are wins, Wake Forest, Pitt, and Wofford are wins. That's 8 wins. Now, swing games are Virginia Tech, Miami, Notre Dame, and NC State. I think they slip up somewhere down the line, but they win probably 2 or 3 of these fairly easily. So right now, I'm going to say over right now, 11-1 for the Tar Heels. I know that's a bold prediction. I predicted them to do really, really well last year. They did for most part of the season, so I don't feel bad for predicting that. But I think this is the year that you're going to see Sam Howell explode. If they can find a good targeted wide receiver, this team is absolutely, easily second best team in the ACC right there with Clemson. I think they're the best team in this division. I have 11 wins for UNC in the regular season. The schedule is not that difficult. They don't draw Clemson. They don't draw some of the tougher teams from across the way in the ACC. So I've got UNC 11 wins over the 10 projected wins that we have down there. But guys, comment below. Let me know what you think about these predictions. Let me know what's up with your team. If whatever fan you are, what did I get wrong? What did I get right? Love the interaction, man. Y'all have been killing the YouTube game. And make sure to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. Tell friends, family, whoever, man. Get the word out there about the Bluebloods, man. We love y'all's support. Can't thank y'all enough. But as I said earlier, my boy B-Dub is back tomorrow, so be tuned in for that as we move on to the Big Ten. We're doing the East Division tomorrow. Same kind of thing, projected wins. Let me know if you like this topic. Let me know what more y'all want on the channel. We're here for y'all, man. You got to let us know what y'all want, and I promise you we'll bring it. Big announcements coming soon. But for myself, the Blue Bloods, and the 2 Minute Drill guys, we are out.